Hello, and welcome to my devotional. It's December 28th. We're just a couple days away from the new year, and it's once again want to say I hope you've had a great Christmas season. As we look at New Year today for the devotional, I thought we'd just do something a little different. Not It's not going to be very much. It's just going to be me encouraging you as you face the new year. The We'll get back to Proverbs next week. I'll be back off my vacation time, and I'll be doing hopefully doing one every day, or all my work days at least, as we get into January. But for today, I just want to encourage you as you face January 1st of 2024, that as we look forward into that next year, about some things you can look at for your own life. And this is a thing we often do this time of year. I often do a lot of self assessment at transitional times, like a new year or whatever, and many people do. And so it's just something to think about. I mean, we can look back in the last year, as we often do, and we can look at things. And for me, this year I had a lot more sickness than usual for me personally, and I'm sure there's some things in your 2023 that probably stand out as unique to this year. And then we look forward into the next year's what's going to happen. Um, and one of the things I just want to encourage you to do is, if you're the kind of person to set goals for yourself, or to do New Year resolutions or anything like that kind of a thing, something to think about in your own journey with God. We've been looking at Proverbs and looking at God's wisdom as given to us through the book of Proverbs, and we've been going step by step with that and just saying, okay, each verse, what can we glean out of that? And that's great. If you've been along for that journey, that's wonderful. But what that is, and I call it a devotional. And if you're part of the church world, maybe you've heard this term before, but it's just a deliberate, sort of systematic approach to development, to my personal spiritual development. We're sharing this together, but to spiritual development. And that is a thing, we call it devotions. We call it having a devotion to God, a devotional. That's the kind of thing a disciple of Christ should do. There should be something in our life, even systematic, some sort of a systematic, even approach to something that just says, here's something I'm going to do to ensure my development, my growth in serving and following Christ. And so that's one of the things we do. And in your life, I want to encourage you to do a little assessment. What are the things in your own life that you've got in place to help you continue on that journey of following Christ, so that you don't just make it something that's like, oh, that's an interest of mine. I watch the weather and I follow Christ. Like you don't want it to be at that level. You want it to be it's so important in your life. You realize its value and how much you need to grow in the Lord, that you do make it something that you very deliberately do, and not just accidentally do, or not casually do, but purposefully and with effort, right? And so one of those things can be, I'm gonna, in 2024, maybe I'm just gonna make sure I spend more time reading the Bible this year, or I'm gonna maybe want to set a goal, or maybe just a goal. It could be a goal of I want to read the whole Bible in a year, or something like that, or it could be just a goal of I just want to read the Bible some every day. Anything at all that you put into some sort of motion. I want to attend church a little more than I usually do. Maybe you only come to church service once a month or something, and that's not really very much when you consider the scriptures teach us to be engaged with each other on pretty much almost a daily basis, really. So maybe that's something you can just sort of increase a bit and say, I want to be more committed to attending with other believers than I have been. Or maybe I'm going to spend more time praying, or I'm going to just be more intentional about my prayers, or something. And whatever it is, you just choose something. You choose one or two things and just say, I'm going to make a systematic improvement here. So it's a deliberate thing with a bit of a system to it. And this isn't ungodly. This doesn't make it less spiritual. I would argue it actually makes it more spiritual, because for one, that's what the Bible teaches us to do. Whether you go to the Old Testament and look at how they were told to teach the laws, and how they were told to bind them on their hands and their forehead and the doorposts of their house, whether they were told the way they memorized the scriptures and the law so that they would have it hidden in their heart, or they go to the New Testament where they deliberately and in a dedicated way would meet on the Lord's Day, and then they would have a place of prayer they would go to. Or you look into the early church history and see how they would fast on a weekly basis. They would choose a day of fasting or whatever it is. We see this throughout Christian history and through the Bible, the deliberate systemizing of sorts. Now, we're not talking about making it stagnant and not talking about making it just ritual that's empty, but there's a deliberate intentionality that says, I'm going to do something and I'm going to make it a habit in my life so that my spiritual growth will occur, so that I'll grow more and more. And that's kind of what we're doing with Proverbs, right? So we look at one verse at a time and we just go into it. We try to do that regularly. And that's just one example. So that's what I want to encourage you to do this year. As you look at 2024, just take a look at your own spiritual life and see if there's anything deliberate in there. And if there is it very much? And then just make a decision. I'm going to go a little deeper with God this year. I want to go a little deeper, and I'm going to do it this way, whatever way it is. I'm going to do it this way. And if you're really, really struggling for ideas, then send me an email and I'll try and give you a few more. But anyways, that's my encouragement to you today. Hopefully it's useful. And that's it for today. And then next week, I'll be back on regular schedule. If the Lord is willing, then we'll be right back on schedule. We'll be working our way through the rest of Proverbs. And that might be one of the ways that will be useful to you. At any rate, God bless you. And I hope that your 2024 year is a wonderful year and that God thoroughly blesses you as you go into it, you and your family and all those that you know. So take care and God bless, and we'll see you next week.